right, hey, good morning, church. God's very best to you this day, this Sunday, this middle of the three-day weekend. Tomorrow, of course, is Memorial Day, and I'll tell you, it's a start of a big season for me. That's right, hot dog season. I challenge myself every year between Memorial Day and Labor Day to see how many hot dogs I can put down, and I've got a big record to beat from last year, 46, and so I'm really fired up about tomorrow, but it's more important than that, of course. It's a big day in our country. It's a day that we have set aside to honor those who have died, serving our nation and protecting the many freedoms that we enjoy in America. And so truly, it is a day. First responders come to mind. Not all heroes wear capes. Not all heroes should wear capes. And the movie The Incredibles comes to mind. I love that movie, I really do. I'll tell you, it's in my top 5. I love The Incredibles. I watch it every time it comes on. It comes on quite a bit. And apparently, so does author Bob Goff. He writes this description about the movie. He says, there's a former superhero dad, and he's tired of his desk job. He sells insurance, I think, but he knows that's really not the real him. And he starts doodling on his sketch pad, drawing different superhero suits because he wants to go back to being the person that he knows he is really supposed to be. And most of the outfits that he draws have capes on them because that's how superheroes dress, and he wants to be the same as them. Now, he has this friend, Edna, who makes superhero uniforms, and every time he shows her one of his designs, she keeps telling him to lose the cape. And then she shows him video clips of superheroes who wore capes, and in the end, capes cause some really big problems for them, like getting caught on something or getting sucked in through a jet engine or worse. And that's her reason for my favorite line in the movie, no capes. Her point is that capes get in the way. And I think Jesus agrees. It's true. Jesus didn't call superstars to follow him. No capes required because capes tend to get snagged on the person wearing them. You get all wrapped up in yourself and miss the point of the mission. Well, as mentioned this morning, we are kind of concluding our series on following Jesus. But here's the thing. We're never really finished, not at all. We never fully arrive. That is, until we reach heaven's home. Until then, we just kind of keep following Jesus by loving him and learning from him and living for him. Followers of Jesus are really lifelong works in progress, trying to be a little bit more like Jesus. Following Jesus is the greatest single opportunity that any of us are really going to have this side of heaven. It's a great adventure for those who choose to accept the mission. Jesus says, follow me, and you'll never be the same. You've probably seen this chart before. We've used it throughout this series. I kind of like to think of it as a path. Not sure where you're at on this path. You might be spiritually curious, or maybe you've just become a Christian. You want to know what happens next, what do I do next? Or maybe you've been a believer for more years than you care to remember, but you're stuck. You've just kind of been stuck in one spot for a while. Well, wherever you are, whoever you may be, wherever you find yourself at, I'm really glad that you're interested in exploring, what it looks like to follow Jesus and what it looks like to keep going. And this morning, we're going to see what it looks like to be an incredible disciple maker. It's a heroic opportunity, and you certainly don't need a cape, don't need to be a superstar, but you are needed. Jesus can do big things through someone exactly like you. This morning, we're going to take a look at a couple of unsung heroes. These lesser-known disciples that I'm referring to are Andrew and Philip. And we meet them in John chapter 1. Here's a picture of my Bible. I realize the type is probably too small for you to read, and so you're just going to have to follow along with your ears this morning. But I like this image, and I put it on the screen because I really like how both of them are on the same page, like literally. Okay, we're going to begin with verse 35. The next day, John the Baptist was there again with 2 of his disciples, and as he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." When the two disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. Now, turning around, Jesus saw them following and asked, "What do you want?" And they said, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" "Come," he replied, "and you will see." And so they went and saw where he was staying and spent the day with him. It was about the 10th hour. Now, Andrew, that's Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John the Baptist had said and who had followed Jesus. Get this, the first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah," that is the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. How cool is Andrew? Very. Now, let's fast forward to Philip, verse 43. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip then found this guy, Nathanael, and told him, "Hey, we found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, the Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nazareth? Ugh. Can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. Okay, we're going to stop there. Come and see. What an incredible invitation. Come and see. That's disciples making disciples. Now, if we were to continue reading the gospel, we would see how Andrew's invitation to come and see absolutely changed his brother Peter's life for the better. Same with Philip's invite to Nathanael. Now, Nathanael, Nate, he was skeptical at best, right? Ugh, Nazareth. But he meets Jesus, and he discovers that something good, really good, can come out of Nazareth, and not just Nazareth, heaven itself. He confesses that Jesus is the Son of God. Whoa, incredible. Come and see. And Peter and Nathanael came and saw, and then they too became disciples who then made disciples. And that sounds easy enough, right? Oh, that's all you got to do. But that was then. That was a long time ago. Let's admit it. Getting others to come and see Jesus, ain't what it used to be. A lot tougher now, right? Because most people really don't seem all that interested. Beside that, most likely there's some baggage. Some bad past experience to deal with. Everyone's got an opinion. To varying degrees, non-Christians believe that Christians just want to force their beliefs on everyone. Christians just preach at you. They shove their Bible down your throat. They tell me what to believe, and they don't even know me. That's the word on the street. My friend, Pastor Jeff Claytor, wrote this great book called Loved and Sent, and he writes this. The word evangelism, evangelism, that's the churchy word for inviting others to come and see Jesus, evangelism. Evangelism has conjured up images of men in suits pounding on your door and asking if you're saved, and you cringe as you peer around the corner. Before you can say hello, they literally attempt to scare the hell out of you. If you're going to die tonight, do you know where you'll be going? You think, well, hell sounds pretty bad, so I'm going to say heaven. Pastor Claytor continues, Christians aren't the only ones capable of an imposing demeanor. Politics, business, entertainment, all intrude upon us with their message. They strong arm a forceful conversation to their product or their point of view. When approached in this fashion, the Christian mission can be perceived as manipulative. Nobody wants to be manipulated. Too many people have been pressured by strong arm tactics that just kind of turn people away from Jesus. So we don't push people to Jesus. We invite the way friends do. That's really the way it works best, through friendship, through relationship. Back in January, I went to something that initially I really did not want to go to at all. I didn't want to see this at all. Les Mis at the Fox Theater, right? I was skeptical at best. I mean, even the title says it's going to be miserable. And besides, it was the playoffs, and I really wanted to watch football, you know? But my wife invited me to come and see. And I saw, and it was good. I loved it. I mean, I'm in now. Wow, what a show. What a beautiful story. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and if it ever comes back to town, I'm going to be there, even during the playoffs. Back in March, a couple of friends of mine, John and Melissa, they invited Mary and I out to dinner at a fancy restaurant. But here's the thing. I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy, you know. I eat my hot dogs plain, by the way. I have simple taste, not too daring. You know, I've never eaten at a Taco Bell. Right? I've never tried a hard-boiled egg. Never tried American cheese or ranch dressing, mayonnaise, anything Alfredo. So I guess I'm kind of just a really picky eater, right? But my friend John is somewhat of a foodie, you know. He likes weird things. He likes me. And so he and Melissa take my wife and I out to dinner. And for more than a decade, we've been doing this. We've been going out once a year, and he encourages me to try something new, something I've never had before. And this year, we started with lobster turnovers and veal dumplings, then moved on to Korean-style ribs. Then we moved on to potato bacon soup and beignets. And now, of course, the main course here consists of beef cheek. That's right, cow face. And it is delicious. And by the way, that's not mashed potatoes. That's celery root puree. And it's okay. But I never would have tried so many weird and interesting, you know, things if it wasn't for my friendship with John and Melissa. Back in July, my friend Ken invited me to go on a super speed jet boat on Lake Superior. Now, Ken is an adventurous guy, not an adrenaline junkie, you know. But he likes to go, go, go. And I prefer to sit. You know, like reading a book by the lake. That's more my speed. But my friend Ken invited me to go and join him on this Riptide ride. Get this, they make you sign a waiver, right? And they strap you, and you literally got to strap yourself in and hold on for your life as you travel at breakneck speeds, hydroplaning across the surface of the water, and you get soaked. And the water's freezing cold even in July, and it's crazy fun. What a ride. What a blast. An incredible performance, an incredible dinner, an incredible adventure, all because a friend invited me to come and see. That's how evangelism works. Most people who come to see Jesus come as an outgrowth of friendship and an invitation. All the expensive mailers, all the cool billboards and the well-designed programs combined only produce a fraction of the results of simple friendship. Warning, but don't think in terms of making friends in order to market Jesus to them. No. Just be you. Be cool, all right? Just be naturally you. Don't come with a bunch of bullet points, you know, of manipulation. As we like to say around here, normal goes a long way. Therefore, as Tim Keller, he passed away last week. I've read all his book and feel like I've lost a friend. But good for him. But Tim Keller writes, don't think in terms of friendship evangelism. Just think in terms of friendship. Build relationship, you know, with your extended family, your neighbors, the people you work with, and you kind of invest in these relationships. And so the first step is just be a good friend. There's a line in the book Loved and Sent from the mission organization Young Life, and they say this: don't talk until you've earned the right. Don't talk until you've done a whole lot of listening. If you speak too quickly, you'll fall right into that stereotype of every pushy, judgmental, arrogant Christian that they've ever met. But once they trust you and know you as a real friend, then your words will carry some power. Now, it must be said that not everyone is going to want to come and see Jesus. It's okay. Don't get mad. Don't leave in a huff. Don't drop them. Don't get offended. Give people room. Give people time. Give them all that. Just don't ever give up on them. Don't ever give up on them. Ever. And remember, when you start talking to other people about Jesus and the church and maybe inviting them to some event at Messiah or even worship with you, remember that a lot of people have had some pretty bad experiences in the past, and so you're going to have to be patient about that. As Andy Stanley says, bad Christians happen to good people all the time. And some people have been pushed around and pressured or burned. So just keep being a friend, and you don't have to do the convincing. The Holy Spirit will do the convincing. But you do have to do the inviting. Come and see, and be ready, when the time comes to tell your story. When it's natural, you tell them, you just share. What compels you to follow Jesus? Think about that one. Don't blow that one off. Go home and think about this. Ever think about that? Why? Why are you here? There's a lot of things you could be doing this weekend. What are you doing here? Why is that? Why are you a disciple? Why do you participate in a community group or serve Jesus in some way? Could you tell a couple of stories of God's blessings in your life? God's grace in your life? Could you tell Jesus is the expression of God's love in real life? Flesh and blood. I believe that. Oh, there's so many things I don't know. And they were far away from home and they were hungry, and so Jesus fed them. That's the heart of God. Another time, a bunch of parents brought their children to Jesus, and he picked up those little kids, babies too, and he took the time to hold them and have them sit on his lap, and he'd play with them, and he'd talk with them, and he blessed them and their parents too, because they were important. That's the heart of God. One night, Jesus took a towel and a bowl of water, and he knelt down in front of his first 12 followers, and he washed their feet. That's the heart of God. The next day, he picked up an old cross, and he put it on his shoulders, and he started up a hill. That's the heart of God. The ultimate hero without a cape, no clothes even. They took his clothes away, and they nailed him onto that cross, and while they were spitting on him and teasing him and telling him to jump down if you say who you are, Jesus forgave them right then and there. But they weren't listening, or maybe they were, but they thought he was nuts, and so they kept on killing him. And he let them do it because he loved them. That's the heart of God. Once upon a time, and not in a fairy tale kind of way, but once upon God's time, there was a man in a little country of Israel from this little nowhere town called Nazareth. His name was Jesus. And he was different from everybody else. Not in some obvious way, he didn't float around or glow in the dark or something. He didn't wear a cape or anything. No status or age or race or gender exclusions. No prior education or track record of good behavior or anything like that. In fact, it seemed that the greater the sin, the greater the forgiveness. He welcomed all comers, the poor and the rich and the intelligent and the not so much. He just said, come and follow me. And as strange as it seems, a bunch of them did. They dropped everything. Somehow there was something about Jesus that the trade made sense. And for 3 years, these disciples followed him around, and they just watched, and they learned from him, and they listened to his teaching and how he prayed, and they watched the way he honored those who were considered outsiders and nobodies. And they heard him tell jokes, and they saw the way he respected people, like all people. And they, of course, witnessed him do some amazing things. They heal people and do incredible stuff. They were invited. And they came, and they saw, and they believed. And they stood by helpless when he was on the cross. They even ran away because they were afraid. And they didn't know what to say when he returned 3 days later and very much was alive, or speechless, just like we all would be. And I don't know what they thought when Jesus told them to go to the ends of the earth and tell other people about how they could be disciples too, because Jesus wanted more followers. I don't know what must have been going through their minds as Jesus returned to the Father and left them with the mission. But I do know it worked. You see, I'm a disciple. I'm a follower of Jesus. And if you're a follower, then we need to get in on this. Here's the plan. Be friends with all kinds of people. Be someone who other people actually like to see coming. Make the grace of God something that people can actually see. Because people need grace. They need the love of Jesus. And you've been called to be the look of his face and the tone of his voice and the touch of his hands, because you represent Jesus. And he's very much wanting others to follow him because there's life with him. And it's a really, really good life. Jesus has not brought you this far so that you can be the audience. He's called you to be an incredible, a capeless hero of the kingdom. Disciples who make disciples by extending the invitation to come and see. Amen.